So you may be wondering why I, Professor Marianne Elizabeth Krasny at Cornell University, would want to teach a MOOC about civic ecology. But perhaps more importantly for you, you might also be wondering why you, as a learner, would want to participate in this civic ecology MOOC. But before I answer those questions, I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. I've been a professor at Cornell since 1986. And I first engaged in civic ecology practices about 10 years later when I visited the Open Road Community Garden in the Lower East Side of Manhattan. And about 10 years after that, I started my own civic ecology practice with Cornell students. And we call ourselves Friends of the Gorge. And what we do is we clean up trash, we plant trees, and we fix trails that are eroding in the fabulous gorges on the Cornell campus. We consider ourselves stewards of Cornell's gorges and natural areas. I've also written a number of books and edited books with my colleagues. And one that's really important for this course is called Civic Ecology, Adaptation and Transformation from the Ground Up. And it's published by MIT Press. And about a year ago, I had the good fortune to meet a very courageous woman from Pakistan. And her name is Summer Dean. Summer is a PhD student in my department, the Department of Natural Resources at Cornell, and she's the teaching assistant for this MOOC, so you'll be meeting her also. So now I'm going to get back to those two questions. Why would I want to teach this MOOC, and why would you want to participate in this Civic Ecology MOOC? And I'm going to talk about three reasons. The first is what I call expect the unexpected. So civic ecology practices are not what you would anticipate seeing in cities and after disasters. Yet they're present, they're there, and they have lessons to tell us about humans and nature in an urbanized world. The second reason is curiosity. You, like me, might be curious about what scientists these days are talking about. And you're going to learn in this MOOC about cutting-edge research, but not so much disciplinary research like in psychology or microbiology, but rather research that cuts across the social sciences and the ecological or environmental sciences disciplines. And you're also going to be talked about how this research, this multidisciplinary or cross-disciplinary research, is applied to solving or to addressing linked social and environmental problems. And you'll get to explore new conceptual frameworks like social ecological systems resilience. And resilience is a really important buzzword right now that we're hearing about in the media and academia. So we're going to talk about some of the way that academics in Sweden and other places around the world are talking about resilience, and in particular social ecological systems resilience. And you'll also learn about some intriguing research, like that of the Japanese, who are studying what they call forest bathing. But you're not going to learn about this research in a vacuum. You're actually going to be applying this research, this multidisciplinary research, to something concrete, something tangible, and that is civic ecology practices. The third reason is about meaning. As they reclaim broken places, civic ecology stewards are doing something meaningful. They're making a difference in their community, and they're leaving a legacy for future generations. Well, you'll also have the opportunity in this MOOC to do something meaningful through the Service Learning Project. And I'm also going to be creating social networking sites for you to meet up with other people who share your interests and who are doing similar work. So we can summarize these three reasons for me teaching this MOOC and for you participating in the MOOC as the three goals of this civic ecology MOOC. And the first is learning about how people in cities are reclaiming broken places. This is really about civic ecology practices. The second is learning about cutting-edge research to address social and environmental problems. And this is civic ecology as a field of study. And the third is getting engaged in civic ecology practices through our Service Learning Project. And you can conduct this project in person or online virtually. Now I'm going to get into the nuts and bolts. How are we going to learn about these things? Well, we're going to have 12 sessions or modules, and they occur over 6 weeks. And in each module, you'll find readings and lectures, and also interviews with academics and with some really inspirational civic ecology stewards. And I'll also be asking you to share your perspectives by joining in the discussions. And I'm planning to be active in the discussions myself. So through interactive, or what we call social learning, you're going to learn not just from me, but we're also all going to be learning from each other. And throughout the course, you'll have the opportunity to do the service learning project. And that's going to entail finding a civic ecology practice nearby where you live or online, and learning through reading about the practice, through participating in the practice, through communicating with the other stewards. And we'll ask you to create a story where you reflect on what you've learned about civic ecology as applied to the practice that you have chosen. And we're going to be using Storify, which is an online platform, to create these stories. And the reason we chose Storify is because it allows you to very easily input multimedia components like photos and video, as well as text. And Summer Dean and I have provided some examples on Storify of civic ecology practices that we're engaged in and that you can look at as models for your own story about your own civic ecology practice. But this is a MOOC, and MOOCs are about free choice learning. And free choice learning is about deciding what, where, when, and how you want to learn. And I actually designed this MOOC so that each module is more or less standalone. So you can really use the resources at will, the lectures, the interviews, the readings, and the assignments within each module. And you can use the modules that interest you the most. And I also ask you to share these resources, the videos, the interviews, they're all posted on YouTube, so to share them with your friends, family, and colleagues. Although you can learn a great deal and complete the course without doing the service learning project, this project does enable you to apply what you've learned and contribute something meaningful. And for those of you who stay the course, that is, stay with the course and do the assignments, you'll receive a certificate stating your achievements. And for those of you who get really excited and even passionate about civic ecology practices like me, and for those of you who want to stay part of the civic ecology community past the end of the course, you can continue to engage in civic ecology practices and to add to your stories of those practices on Storify. And I'll also be providing opportunities for you to continue to exchange ideas and resources with other students, scholars, and civic ecology stewards. So let's get started. Together we've got a lot to learn and a lot of important work to do.